Me talking about this immigration crisis, I've been focusing mainly on like the northern cities, Chicago, Philadelphia, New York City. And we've been doing multiple videos on what's going on in New York City, what's going on in Chicago and places like that. But what's not being talked about is Southern California and that California-Mexico border. And what came through San Diego over the weekend. San Diego is saying they're broke and they don't have the resources, the money to be able to handle these immigrants that's coming in. They don't have the manpower, the police power. It's just out of control. And they don't know what to do at this point. They don't know how to combat the situation. It's really crazy. So now we're talking about thousands have been let loose on the streets of Southern California, predominantly San Diego. And, the people are up in arms. So this is what we're seeing now. Check this out.
If you want to find out what's going on the border, you watch Fox. Listen to this. More than 1,000 migrants were released onto the streets in San Diego over the weekend. There was no place for them to go. The county ran out of money and had to close a shelter. Joining me now is Bill Wells. He's the mayor of El Cajon in San Diego County. Can you just spread it out for us? Spell it out, please. What happened, Your Honor?
Yeah, so normally we get about 300 drop-offs a day, and that's been pretty bad. But recently, the Border Patrol told us that we should expect 1,000 a day, and that's what's been happening. In the last 5 days, we've had 4,000 people that have come across, and that's flooding the streets. California is already the biggest place where homeless people live in the nation. So that's already strained our resources to the capacity. Really past capacity. And now you add this crisis with no money to help and no idea where these people are coming from or where they're going or what they're doing. And it's a humanitarian disaster.
Your Honor, are they literally just wandering around the street, sleeping on the street, sleeping on the beach, just wandering around is that what's going on?
Well, it's a mixed bag. When I was down there with Bill Malusian and they were dropping people off from the buses and they were immediately being taken onto another bus that the NGOs were running, taking them to another location, which took them to another bus, which took them to the San Diego airport. And I think that's all designed to be this cloak and dagger thing to keep us from knowing. We're not supposed to know who they are or where they're going. But so we know that some of them are getting out of town on airports. We know a lot of them are sleeping in the airport, and the rest of them, we have no idea.
Not only are there Central and South Americans coming through those borders, as Dr. Claude Anderson told us in the 1995 speech with these Asians, there are thousands of Asians coming through those borders as well. Now, how they got there, I have the slightest idea. But they're also coming through the borders. So we're talking about going from a third-class citizen right up under the Latinos to possibly a fourth-class citizen under the Asians that'll be allowed to come through the border. Check this out.
Migrants from China are now the fastest growing group of people entering the United States illegally from Mexico.
China?
Why are we seeing these growing numbers? Here's what we know.
New York?
Customs and Border Protection reported more than 24,000 Chinese migrant encounters at the southern border last fiscal year. In 2021, that number was just 450.
Did you just arrive here in the United States?
The migrants previously told News Nation reporters that they're escaping the Chinese Communist Party and plan to seek asylum in the United States.
African Americans represent a small population in California, and especially in the Los Angeles, Southern California area. They're already being pushed out. And now with the influx of these immigrants coming in from Central and South America, it makes it even worse. But the African Diaspora Channel some months ago talked about blacks in California and the temperature of what's going on amongst the blacks and how they're feeling. Let's check that out. Let's revisit that video that was put out some months ago on the African Diaspora Channel.
Banking rates came out with a study saying that in order to live in California, an individual needs to make about $146,000 just to be happy, right? Now, they also said that globally, one needs to make about $60,000 to $70,000 to be happy. And in the United States in general, one needs to make about $105,000 to be happy. Now, let's go back to California. where white people on average are making about 93,000, Asians are making about 116,000, and black people on average are making about $63,000. This is per year, right? So per that study, ain't nobody happy living in California because we know everything is high there. The cost of living is just super high, right? But let's go back to black people that are making about $63,000 on average. So by that study, yes, we can ascertain that black people are super unhappy in California because they do not make even close to the amount of money that they need to make to be happy. Now, I will say that I used to live in California and I'm still a California girl, but I live in Texas now and I am a little bit more happier living in Texas than I was in California because the cost of living is a lot cheaper, if you will, or less expensive, I should say, in Texas than in California. But I will say this, and it's been said a lot, and we already know this, that a lot more black people are starting to leave California. And in fact, there are more black people in the South now than, as much as it was during, I guess, slavery and Jim Crow and all that other stuff. And it is due to the cost of living, especially in California and other places. Now, they say New York, it's even more than that. You need like 150,000 to be happy. And so black people who want to be happy, guess you need to move until we get our reparations checked. Now, I know California is talking about issuing reparations, but until then, I guess you're going to be unhappy. But if they want us to be happy, they know what to do, right? Cut the check.
So under that survey, it was said in order for you to live a happy life, to be able to take care of your family, you must make at least six figures, like 146,000 a year. Well, they say the average black person there is making 60-something thousand a year. And we know the cost of living in California is extremely high. The property taxes in California is extremely high. They're making it very hard to live there. And now you're bringing in a bunch of immigrants that's coming in and to compete for jobs and taking over the job situation. So it's dire circumstances. You have a lot of things that you have to worry about in California. Being black is a lot of racism, not just from the dominant society, but from a lot of Latinos coming in from Central and South American countries. It's just a whole bunch of stuff, and we're like a minority group down there. So, like, living in California is bad. And then they say like one out of every three homeless person down there is black. So we already know what's going on now in those homeless shelters down there. You can't get a bed down there. You can't get a space because those spaces are relegated now to the migrants coming in. Y'all remember the situation that went on? I think it was in Boston. This situation right here. Check this out.
Afford to live here, but y'all gonna bring some other motherfuckers here? That doesn't add up. It doesn't make no sense. None. I'm homeless. I work a full-time job, 40 hours, and get paid to live here. How the f y'all gonna bring somebody else here? Don't make no sense.
Well, what's happening now is African American communities are going to be overrun. The Democratic Party don't need your vote anymore. They're ushering in these groups now to come in and be the next voting bloc as the second-class citizens here in America. It's going to be these Spanish-speaking groups. And they're ushering them into your community. And they're giving them housing. They're allowing them to vote. Certain states was cutting people's hours on jobs because they had to save money for the migrants coming in. So they're setting up a whole system set in place for the migrants to come right on in and have a good living. It's happening right in front of your face. What are you going to do about it, black community? What are you going to do about it? There's many channels that's been reporting on this stuff, blowing the whistle and calling this stuff out, and you guys are still asleep at the wheel. You still partying and still separated from each other, but you're being pushed out right in front of your face. Well, the black diaspora wasn't finished. They had a nice woman on there speaking about the situation in Chicago, and she was breaking stuff down like this. Check this out.
And man, Chicago, they really doing this. So yeah, could you explain that to the people that may just not know?
Well, let me just say this. I'm just a regular person here from the city of Chicago. I'm not a person that's known. And how I got involved with the migrant crisis is we got a phone call from our alderman letting us know that Amerson Park, which is the park where my children grew up playing football, my husband coached football and baseball at that park. We got a call saying that that park was going to be taken away from the community and used as a migrant shelter. And we immediately got on the phone. We started calling the people in the community. We called all of our elected officials. We called past and former players, coaches, parents. And we're like, hey, listen, they're trying to take our park away. We're going to have to rally and pull ourselves together and try to see if we can prevent this from happening.
Okay, so you got out there and you start, making some noise with this situation. But outside of the park, or anybody else kind of rumbling about, hey, wait a minute, what's going on with this migrant situation? Why is our community being targeted?
Well, we had all been aware of the migrant crisis, but not as prolific about it until they, again, when you start talking about taking away people's spaces and places, that kind of changes the narrative of things. And when you talk about taking one of the crown jewels in the Austin community, and this is a place where our mayor, Brandon Johnson, lives, or says he lives, let me put it that way. And we were just like, and because I kind of knew Brandon and had a relationship with him, so I thought, my husband and I have both been park advocates for the last 30 years or more. And you would think that if something like this was happening, we would get a phone call and say, hey, listen, we are talking about bringing these migrants over here. What do y'all think about this? Because if the brother had gave me a call, I'd have let him know, nah, brother, this ain't it right here.
Now, when you listen to this woman talk, this is the problem in our community. She's talking about Brandon Johnson may live there. She's talking about what these people are going to do, taking our communities. But what about what we were supposed to do? We live in those communities. We're not born with one less chromosome. We have money and we have the power to change things. We have churches on every corner. We have money in America as black people. Nothing's stopping us from working together and loving your brother and loving your sister and wanting to do things to be better. So now it has to be dire consequences and circumstances that's going to make you now lift your head up out the sand. So you go to church every Sunday and they preach you Jesus and the word and all this kind of stuff. But they ain't telling you, they're not using the word. They're not using that Bible to teach you how to stop gentrification, how to teach you stop this migrant crisis, to get an economic surplus for your own people where you can have some political power and economic power. The church ain't teaching black folks none of this stuff. All throughout major black communities across America, it's been a colossal failure. And when you listen to this woman talk, this is exactly what I'm talking about. We've been here long enough and understand what we've been up against in this country from the dominant society. It's been incumbent upon us to get ourselves together. Well, ain't nobody coming to save us and we don't got no friends. But yet and still, we still just giving our vote over to the Democratic Party. Some of us is just running away from the community altogether, running over to the Republican Party, totally separating themselves from the black community and making attempts to breed themselves out of their blackness. This is what's been going on for so long. And the dominant society has been watching. Now they ushering in a whole nother group just to wipe you out. What do you got to say for yourself, black community? We ain't got no friends. This is all on us now. This is all on us. And I can't say it any plain. It has to be made catastrophically clear that this is happening right in front of your face. What are you going to do? You going to run over to the Republican Party? What if they promised you? What do they got in writing that they can actually do to help your situation? I'm going to cut this video short right here. Leave your comments in the comment section. Let me know what you guys think. Subscribe to Street Media TV. Remember, I love y'all. Till the next time. Peace.